I've been playing Phantom Liberty and Update 2.0 early, and I'm here to give you the 4 reasons why Cyberpunk is now the game it was always meant to be. Number 1, you can pet the bald cat, the second best pussy in the game. Number 2, the combat is incredible. You can feel the exaggerated swagger of a hacker, cyber ninja, or a cracked out COD kid who's just sniffed a line of G Fuel. Number 3, gear score has been removed from your clothes. Finally, I can run around with my dong slapping between my thighs as I cut my enemies limb from limb. And number 4, the revamped police. It's not only so much better than it was in the base game, but it's realistic too. Here I am, committing a crime as a white person. And here I am, simply trying to walk the streets as a minority.
So, get away, another way, feel like you didn't want yourself to know, and let yourself go.
We begin things by getting a call from an unknown suspicious number, asking us to meet them at the Dogtown border. This is dodgy, because Dogtown is unfortunately pretty rough, and not filled with dogs, like the name would suggest. I can't resist a cheeky mystery, so I drive down to the border. There I am politely waiting like the good white man I am, when suddenly I am rear-ended.
Yo, what the fuck, yo?
It's 2077, the cars practically drive themselves, but here are women, still crashing into parked cars. I learned my lesson from my first experience, so this time I go the Mexican way in. I'm met by a netrunner named Songbird, whose hologram is in my head like Johnny Silverhand. She's all like, yo, big man ting, I'm on an aircraft with the President of the new United States. It has been hacked and we're coming down in Dogtown. Can you save us, G? So I proceed to spend the next 20 minutes winding through the vents and underground passages like Remy on his way to Paris. But instead of Paris, I'm going to a city that smells like shit. So yeah, actually like Paris. Eventually I pop out in the Dogtown market, where not only does my FPS drop faster than my uncle dropped my pants, but more importantly, there's a huge health and safety hazard with this gaping hole. Dogtown is a wild place. In this market, you can find whatever you'd need to be happy. There's more guns than a bullied high schooler would know what to do with, a place to cop some fresh threads, and even one of those tiny men wearing a cowboy hat who sells used storage units. So I chat to Songbird, and she's like, big man, you're a real one for doing this, the op's gonna be circling us soon, no gas, bring a skeng with you, brother. We head up to a roof to see the aircraft come in for landing as Songbird is majestically standing on the edge. I try to join her, but have my dreams fumbled by invisible walls, so I just end up falling to my death. Back on the roof, I spot the aircraft, however things go horribly wrong as they're hit by a missile, but more worryingly, nearly hit me as they crash into Dogtown. First getting rear-ended, now getting a haircut from an aircraft carrier. Not a good day for women drivers. So I now have one objective. Get to the President before the gangs of Dogtown close in on her position. What do you know though? Despite only crashing 30 seconds ago, I already have to fight a gang, as they have a perimeter established on the crash site. Say what you will about gangs and their negative societal impact, but getting a perimeter set up this quickly is incredibly efficient team working skills. Good job, guys. I kill the various gang members and make my way to the President while I'm guided by Songbird. I get inside the aircraft and it's a pretty grim scene, as there's bodies everywhere. Old mate here was crushed under a chair, which is exactly what happens when you don't use the brace position. Just when I'm thinking the President is dead, she shows she's very much alive and skilled at MMA, as she hits me with a clean combination and leg sweep. We work together to fend off the gang closing in on our position, and the President is more than trigger happy. She's handling that weapon better than a fake taxi driver handles their vehicle. Those lads deserve a bit more praise for how quickly they can slip off into a back road and parallel park those taxis. We need to get to a secure location, but first we take a breather while the President whips out a lighter, and I thought she was going to spark a J because she's chill like that. She, however, just heats a piece of metal and gets me to slice her neck open, which is the exact opposite of being chill like that. We hop into a whip and go to an abandoned museum, which is the best route to our hideout without being seen. Lizzie!
Your help.
No, hang up, it's just about to drop.
Same spot as last time.
Lizzie, you're gonna ruin the drop,
Wait.
hang up! While at the museum, I make sure to destroy the American football statues, as it's an insult to call this sport football. It turns out we were tailed here, so a fight commences inside the museum. Luckily, we just so happen to be in the one room where there's a huge retired Militech Chimera, so Songbird takes control of it and wipes everyone out. Then, in a plot twist that nobody could have seen coming, it turns on us and goes evil, attempting to kill me and the President. We flee the scene, but it all comes to a conclusion where we have to fight the Chimera boss. For some reason, reason, my first instinct was to use a katana to take it out. I don't know why I thought me, a white man with a sword, would be able to defeat a Militech spider drone on steroids, but I'm terrible in high pressure situations, I guess. Like when my ex told me her mum had cancer, and I replied with, "No way, I was also born in June." Anyway, this fight is actually really fun, and we end the Chimera together with a tag team move. So after all that, we make our way through the underground metro system, and eventually to an apartment that looks even too run down for a crackhead to sleep in. Just look at the stats on this mattress. Active infestation, harmful pathogens, high risk of infection, ridden with insects, and worst of all, low quality material. It's all well and good waking up with hepatitis C, but waking up with a bad back will ruin the rest of your day. I get the Jenny up and running because there's nothing more alpha than starting a generator. Meanwhile, Madam President changes clothes and gets the bevies out. When my day started, I didn't think it would end sharing a beer with the president while she man-spread across from me, but here we are. And it's kinda hot. Songbird was supposed to meet us here, but there's been no sign of her since she lost control of the Chimera, so that's worrying. With things getting serious, the president asked me to wake up a sleeper agent named Solomon Reed, who's been asleep for 7 years. It must be wild being a sleeper agent. One moment you're with your loving family, the next you receive a phone call and have to abandon everything you've ever known. My headcanon reason for my dad leaving me is actually that he was a sleeper agent, and not that he didn't love me. Free to explore Dogtown, I actually think if you ignore the derelict buildings, gang shooting people, crackheads, graffitis, potholes on the road, trash everywhere, and abandoned cars in the middle of the road, it's actually a pretty endearing place. So I go back to the market to browse for some succulent pork buns. I come across what I thought was a father and child, but this kid looks seriously old. You cannot tell me this is a child.
My name is Gabby, I'm 12 years old, and I'm pregnant as fuck!
So I've got a call Reed on this phone in an old restaurant, but first I need to power the place up. I, however, would have a little bit of trouble doing this, as I was still getting used to the dash skill I'd just recently unlocked. No! Oh, fuck. No. Oh my fucking, you are kidding me. Oh my. No, not again! Oh my fucking god, this dash! The dash is the worst thing I've ever added into the game. Once inside the restaurant, I take a look around and snoop on the computer, where I find an email from hot_Eusebio, which I forward to myself for educational purposes. So I call Reed and activate him using a code, which must make him just feel like an object, the poor guy. He asks me to meet us on the basketball court, but before we leave, I notice a load of numbers on the wall, so I spend the next 5 minutes calling them all. They're numbers that contain cool little Easter eggs, like this one, that plays the Witcher theme. It's the Witcher theme song. Yeah. We arrive at the court and Johnny is saying important plot things, but I'm actually way more focused on the 1v1 behind him. Solomon Reed then shows up behind me, grabs me by the neck, and at least buy me dinner first, sir. But it's all like, blah blah, who are you, why are you here, blah blah, meet me in the car in 2 minutes. Obviously none of us actually care about that story though. We're more focused on this story, on the court. Oh.
See if I still got
I can actually play. Yo. Oh, the dunk from V! Absolutely rock hard from that dunk, I proceed to disobey everything my mum told me growing up and get into a stranger's car. Luckily that stranger was Idris Elba, so I think my lesson here to the kids is, always get into a stranger's car. Anyway, we tell Reed about the sitch with Songbird and that we need his help to find her. He takes me on a drive around Dogtown, where we see some of the local tourist attractions like the homeless and smackheads. We get ambushed by a gang, and Reed is angry with me because I didn't look for a tail on my way here. Geez, it's almost like it's my first day on the job here or something. Can I catch a break? We kill a few of the lads, hop back in the car, and continue our conversation, which is really nice. But for some reason, it appears CD Projekt Red forgot to include a feature where you can grip Reed's thigh while he drives. There truly is nothing better than firmly grasping the homie's thigh while he drives.
So what do you wanna do? What's your point of view? There's no point. Screw, do you wanna go?
We get up to the apartment and devise a plan on how to find Songbird. Well, the President and Reed make a plan. I just stare at these terrible looking 2D cockroaches on the floor. SMH CDPR, this game may have some of the best lighting I've ever seen, but slacking on the cockroach graphics is unacceptable. Alright, so while I do important planning, I've got to entertain myself until I get a call. I find a pastor who's out here on the street, giving medical treatment to those who can't afford it. What a guy. My pastor also regularly gave me medical treatment, but it was always a prostate exam, and they stopped when I turned 13. To save the man some time and money, I decided to euthanize one of his patients by deflecting a bullet off her mattress and into her head. I then remember, it's a fucking mattress. Of course the bullet won't deflect off it. While out cruising on my bike, I see a young man whose car is broken down. I pull over to help, as I can see his mechanic is a woman. I check under the hood for any problems, and then take it for a quick test drive to make sure the car is working properly again. By test drive, I mean, I take his car and never return it. I eventually get a call from Reed asking me to meet him in a bar called The Moth. I hope it's well lit. Oh my god, that's great. That's the best joke and worst joke I've ever written in my life. On my way there though, the greatest thing to ever happen yet in this DLC takes place. I get a text from Panam. She's just checking in on how I'm doing, which is honestly so wholesome. We all deserve a Panam in our life. She ends our conversation by saying, "You've got me imagining all sorts of things." Winky face. I now suddenly have an urge to speedrun this entire DLC. We arrive at the Moth, but before doing anything here, I'd like to introduce a new segment on the channel called Public Restroom Inspector, where I grade video game restrooms. Here we have a standard 2-stall, 3-sink situation. There's graffiti everywhere, and shit all over the floor, but a robot is actively cleaning it up. Both stalls are the same, but the second one has an open bottle of pills and a milk carton in it. That's gonna score some bonus points. The mirrors are non-reflective, which is a shame, but the cheeky flamingo in the corner is a nice touch. Overall, I'll give this a 5.5 out of 10. No, that's actually quite harsh. I'll give this a 6.5 out of 10. So I sit at the bar and order a drink. All is Gucci. Reed then walks in, and the bartender's demeanor completely changes. She makes everyone leave the bar, points a gun at Reed, and then reveals that she's actually black. Pretty sure that's whiteface, but is it even racist if you target white people? I don't think so. We explain the sitch to her, and she goes outside to have a smoke, because she has some complicated history of Reed and doesn't know if she can take on this job. I join her outside, but not to smoke, as I already do heroin, so smoking on top of that seems like a really bad health decision. After much deliberation and much talking, she agrees to help us, but first has to chat with Reed about some personal stuff, so I give them some alone time. As I'm cruising through the night on the rain in my motorbike, feeling like I'm in a movie, I pass a man being abused by a gang member. You guys know me, I'm partial to a little bit of oppression here and there. It's all fun and games, but bullying is just straight up uncalled for, so I pull over to help the man out. Unfortunately, my interference actually ends with him getting shot and folded like fresh laundry, so he probably would have been better off if I actually did nothing. Our best shot at finding Songbird is to talk to a netrunner who can look at the relic in my head and see if they can decipher what happened to her or make contact. Me and Reed roll up on Voodoo Boy's territory to chat to this top-notch netrunner. I think we were supposed to use negotiation skills to get in here and see him, but I just walk in and begin shooting everyone. I'm sure that'll make the netrunner really happy and delighted to see us and work with us, as I just killed all of his friends and family. So with more Haitian victims under my belt than the 2010 earthquake, we find old mate Slider, who hooks up to us. He finds out Songbird was tapped into the black wall, which all netrunners know to stay away from. It's extremely dangerous to mess with, and we don't yet know how powerful it actually is. It's like the Gooch. Talking to Songbird just gave us more questions and clarity though, as she asks us to meet her at a super exclusive party, so she can explain what's going on. The party mission is so much fun, but you should see that for yourself, so I'm not going to spoil it here. It's still so cool to me that I get opportunities like this. CD Projekt Red, one of my favourite developers, and I get to play their new DLC for Cyberpunk, one of my favourite games of the last 5 to 10 years. Early. It's just mind-blowing. Thank you guys so much for your support. I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for your support. Show some love to Sean in the comment section, because he grinded out this edit for me as well, so I can get this video up for you guys today as the embargo goes up. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.